Welcome to this lesson where we finalize our market research. This is the second step of our planning process for our blog. So now I've created my own Mpumalanga tourist buyer persona for my website. All this information that I've populated here, I've gathered from the research that I've made so far, from local statistics publication, from local magazines, from local blogs and tourism websites. This has led me to create this buyer persona. I've looked at Google Trends, I've looked at keywords, I've looked at other websites, and after all that information, I've gathered all that information, I've finally nailed down and focused on an ideal customer. Remember, a buyer persona is the ideal customer that you want to market to. It doesn't mean other people that fall outside this definition are not your customers, but you need to have a target. You need to have something that you aim towards. So when you do your marketing, who do you have in mind? And that person must be real. I know some people like to put even a picture here to make it more real, and you can Google different templates of how you can create a buyer persona. This is just the template that I normally use when I create a buyer persona for a blog. All right, so you look at the demographics, you look at the interest, you look at the values and background, challenges, competition, and our blog advantage. So let's start with demographics. Where did I find this information? I found this information on SimilarWeb. Remember, we used SimilarWeb on my previous lesson on comparing other websites. I showed you how you can use SimilarWeb to figure out the demographics of a specific website. So we can look at savenues.com to see what are the people that are visiting the website. Are they between the ages of 20 to 24? Are they 40 years old? What is the age group? And you can also get the gender as well. Are they males or are they females? So after going through different websites, I finally figured out that my demographics should be these. And once again, in order to validate it, I did a market survey, which I've also showed you on my other lessons on how you can use Google Forms and send out your market survey. So using that data from my survey, I was able to populate and create this sort of buyer persona, so I know exactly who am I marketing to. So now let's get into detail on my buyer persona. I'm assuming your buyer persona is different from mine. Yours might be a different name. This is not a real person. This is just a fictional character that I use so that I understand who is my ideal customer. Okay, so here the demographics. I made a nickname for my buyer persona. I said his name is Brian. He's an engineer. He earns about $25,000 a month, which is about $2,000. His age is 26. When I looked at my research on my SimilarWeb, I saw that the age group is anything between 23 to 24, and from 24 to 26, different percentages. So I think 26 is a fair estimation. And I even went down to even define his race. Obviously, he can be black, he can be white, he can be colored. In the US, they name them African American, but I've decided to name him white based on the research that I've had, and his gender is a male. Obviously, once again, the buyer persona is not a fixed thing. It's just an ideal person that you're creating this blog for. They can even be more females that come to my blog. They can even be people with that are 20 years old or 30 years old, but you need to have sort of like a target of the people that you want to attract with your blog. So what is he interested in, Brian? So Brian is interested in outdoors. He enjoys biking, sports, water sports. He's fun loving. He's a very social person. So those are very interesting things that you need to define as well, because when you create your blog and you're writing your blog post and you're using the colors, your messaging, it should all resonate with your buyer persona. So if the person likes shooting, and that may not be necessarily your target market. So this information, I got it through the local stats, to find out when people are on holiday, what do they enjoy doing. They enjoy outdoors. No one comes to South Africa to visit or to Mpumalanga and they want to stay indoors. When people go to Joburg, they go to the city, they want to go to clubs and mall and do shopping. But when people come to Mpumalanga, which is more open, there's the Kruger National Park, they want to go see animals, they want to do more outdoor activities. So this is where the interest is coming from. I didn't just thumbsuck this information. I actually researched it and I included it in part of my interest. I also used it on my survey, my Google form survey, to check if it can be validated. Okay, the values. This is a bit of a gray area. I don't actually have empirical evidence of this, but this is just an intuition, a feeling that I have, that what type of values does this person value, So this is going a bit extra, and you don't necessarily have to have this on your buyer persona, but I enjoy having it and making the person as real as possible. I want to make Brian as real as possible, so that when I write a blog, I understand what type of person he is. So values: he is faithful, he likes quality, he values time, he is diligent and respect. So when I recommend something on the blog, I should make sure it's something of quality, because if it's not quality, he's not going to come back again. So you see where the value links up with my blog. The next thing, this is like a short story, a paragraph of where Brian comes from, what does he do on a day-to-day basis, and all of that. Once again, this is all fictitious, it's not something real, but it's based on my research. And as I said, I sat down and thought for about weeks and said, what would Brian be doing? If he's an engineer, he's working in Gauteng and Sandton, what does he like doing? So I said, Brian is a young graduate civil engineer, so he's a bit young. How do I know he's young? It's because he's 26. How do I know that he's 26? Based on my research. So he's been here working for 3 years, which means he started working when he was 23. And he's in a long-standing relationship with his girlfriend, Mari. You see, I also included his girlfriend name. That's not necessarily true as well. It's just making the character real as possible. And this is their main problem. Because they don't spend much time during the week, they always try to make it count during the weekend. So Brian is an engineer, and he doesn't see his girlfriend very much. So on weekends, those are the time they get to spend. So I'm focusing on weekends, trips and reviews, and making the blog more weekend centered, things they can do on weekends. So I'll never advertise something during the week because Brian is working during the week. So also, this is a motivation of why he would want to go out, And the next thing is sort of the location. Where does Brian stay? Brian stays in Johannesburg North, so those are your Sandton suburbs, along those lines, Woodmead, Dainfern, Four Ways. So that's where Brian stays, upmarket. But he enjoys the outdoor activities, so he travels now and again with his girlfriend. And that is very important. So I'm going to make my blog a bit more couple-centered, couple-friendly, so that people who are reading my blog and are a couple, they can go and visit Mpumalanga. So those are important things that I need in order to write my blog, to sort of understand my market and who I'm creating the blog for. And also the fact that he's an engineer and he stays in Johannesburg North also plays an important role. I even estimated how much he's earning, 25,000. All right. So now I have a background. If I'm going to sell something on the website or the blog, I have an idea of how much I should charge. Can he afford, and why can't he afford? He might not spend 2,000 Rand on clothes, but he might spend 5,000 Rand on a trip, that is worthwhile, that will bring him a new experience. So understanding that gives you a great advantage from a marketing perspective. Then the other thing that I also noted down was the challenges. So what are the challenges that he has? All right. So the biggest challenge is that he doesn't have enough time to spend with his girlfriend, which is the case for most people that are hardworking and also engineers as well. You don't have enough time. So on weekends, you need to make it count. How can I solve that problem for him? By offering him reviews. So I've also made an assumption that he checks his information. When he wants something, he goes online and researches it first before he goes. So during the week, I should be marketing as much as possible so that when he's planning for the trip on the weekend, he gets an idea of where he's going, how the place is like. Then the second challenge he has is that there's not enough fun outdoor activities in Johannesburg. So that is a real challenge, So if you're in Johannesburg, there's not a lot of mountains. You can't go a lot of mountain biking and outdoor activities or go to a safari. So those are the real challenges that are there in Johannesburg. If you are not in South Africa and you're watching this online course, Johannesburg is more like a city, it's more like London, it's more like New York. So there's not a lot of outdoor activities that can be done. So that might be one of his challenges. He loves outdoors, but he can't get it where he's working. Then the third challenge that he has is that he wants to check and validate places before he goes. Obviously, that ties in well with the fact that he's an engineer. So he wants to sort of like double check and make sure that before he books or before he plans his trip, he wants to check what other people are saying about the place and what other people how they've reviewed the place, etc., etc. So who are the people who are competing with me to Brian? So obviously, I'm not the only one who's trying to reach out to Brian. There's different other companies, businesses, and other blogs that want Brian to go to their website. So I'm competing with different websites. So I've had a look at my competition, and I think that my biggest competition will be hotel booking sites. Most people, when they want to book a place, they go to hotel booking site, hotels, TripAdvisor, Trivago, and there's also reviews. So that might be a competition to me. And then, if you can remember, when we were doing SimilarWeb on the previous lesson, we also evaluated and analyzed Mpumalanga.com websites to see where they get their traffic, how they do their marketing, and how their website looks like, and where they get their referrals from, and what are the people visiting the website interested in. So I've analyzed Mpumalanga.com, and I think it's also a competition. I've looked at SA Venues. I think it's also a competition. And also Travelers Review blogs might be a competition. And I've also analyzed how many Travelers Review blogs there are there. So after reading through all of that, I was able to pin down what will be my advantage on my blog. Why would people come to my blog instead of coming to hotel booking sites, for example? Why would people come to me instead of going to Trivago and other websites? Because you need to have a competitive advantage. You can't just create a blog and say, because my blog sounds nice. You need to offer something unique, something of value. That's why we had to do market research, so that we understand the market and understand where our value proposition might be. So my blog advantage is that I'm specifically focusing on one location, which means that it establishes me as an authority. So if you have a blog that focuses on general tourism destination in South Africa, like say for example SA Venues, the website talks about all the places in South Africa. They don't have a specific focus on one province. So already they lose some authority in that. But if you can get a blog that focuses specifically on Mpumalanga, then Google will rank you higher because you are focusing on one specific topic. And that is something that I want to encourage you on. Don't create a blog. If you want to create a blog about cooking, don't just be random and say, this blog will teach you everything you need to know about cooking. You need to be specific. Are you cooking lasagna? Are you cooking pap? Are you cooking sushi? Are you cooking sushi? So you need to distinguish yourself, because the more general you are, the more you lose authority in your field. So try to find those niche markets. Try to find a gap. If you want to do a car review blogs, there's like a million websites that are doing that. Find a niche. Focus maybe on BMW. But if there's too many BMW review blogs, focus on a specific model of a BMW or a VW or whatever car that you want to write about. So don't be general. Focus on one specific topic, and that will help you and establish you as an authority in that field. Then the second advantage I said we have is that our branding encourages users to share. So If you saw my website, mpumalangatourist.co.za, you will see that the call of action is actually to share. So I want people to share their experience. If there's a person who's been to Mpumalanga, has visited a place, I encourage them to go and share that experience on the website so that other people can see how it's like and what was the experience like. So once again, I have this social currency and social proof that when people come to Mpumalanga, they want to share with their friends and they can get feedback on that. And also people who want to visit other sites, when they see that there's a person who's been there themselves, it adds a little bit more authority and it makes it more real and genuine, other than if I was the one writing a review. But if someone who went there and wrote a review, it has more authority. Then the last thing is that our blog focuses on social proof. We post other people's experiences. Okay, this is just going further into what I was saying, that we don't just write the blogs ourselves. We encourage people who've been there to write the blogs. So that gives us a greater advantage than these other websites that are there. So now that we've created a buyer persona, we can start planning our website and deciding what kind of keywords we're going to use, what are we going to say, because now we have an idea of the type of person we are marketing to. His name is Brian, he's young, he's a male, he loves outdoor. So we need to sort of like understand what we're going to put on the website, what will be attractive to him. So that's what we're going to do in the next lesson.